like to welcome everyone to the Arkansas PBS quarterly meeting, and thank you for all being here today. Everybody, I assume, has received the minutes of the last meeting, and do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Have a motion, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion carries. As you know today that our chairman, Brother West, is away from the table today, and he is having a family birth today. His daughter is giving birth, and we're wishing the family well. So, but since I'm taking over for today for the vice chairmanship, Wes, our chairman, is not here. So I wanted to tell everybody I've been a member of this august body for nearly 7 years, starting next January. And a lot has gone on. And there's been a lot of growth, a lot of improvement through the years. And we've gone from Arkansas Educational Television Network to a nationally recognized Arkansas PBS. A lot's been going on. And through these soon-to-be 7 years, we at Arkansas PBS have been blessed with competent and professional staff. And under the leadership of Courtney, and we thank you, Arkansas PBS has won, in the last 7 years, has won 47 Emmys. It's amazing, isn't it? 47 Emmys. And we've won 14 national media awards. It's a great accomplishment, great accomplishment. But none of these could be happening without a great staff. And the congratulations to all our folks and the staff that have been with us for 2 years, and some of you guys have been here for 25 years. And for those members that have been here for a lesser time, I'm sure congratulations will be in the future. But for those that I've known, I wanted to say a congratulatory note to the folks that are here. I wanted to thank Courtney, Lindsay, I'd like to thank you, Sajni, Veronica, I'd like to, Marge, thank you very much, Dwayne, Josh, Matt, and Kevin. And as I said, some of you have been here for 25 years, and it's a great accomplishment, and I just wanted to personally thank each and every one of you. Not only do I want to thank you, but I think the state of Arkansas thanks you as well, and all of us at Arkansas PBS. So thank you very much. Our next is the director's report.
Okay. Thank you, Woody, and for recognizing, the team. But I also want to say something about the whole staff, because none of us would be able to do what we do without people who are, making the whole network work and work well. So thanks to all that are under this roof and at the towers for all that they do, because it's dedication, and there's a reason why public media has employees that have been here for a long time or been at other stations. Is because it's mission driven, and people do it for very clear reasons. They're not just like, oh, I'll get a job. It's they get the job, they keep it because they believe in the mission of public media. We've got a birthday party coming up. She will be, Arkansas PBS will be 60 years young. So we're already talking about what is that? What does that look like? What do we make to go along with that? So that's very much in the wind. And then with the archives, with America 250 happening that same year, we're hoping that we'll be able to put some things together that bring out some of those history pieces out of the archives that are just so valuable and we haven't seen yet. So that's really exciting. Also, thinking about this last night and realizing how, we've been doing Arkansas Ideas for a long time, and it's top-notch teacher professional development. and we know that. But I mean, really during Rise and Shine and Mystery League, you know, we took on a whole new thing, and I'm not sure from a production standpoint that you know the general public would realize what an adjustment that is, to go from teacher development to classroom resources and you know, child-driven content, but you know, live action production across the state. I mean, it's just astounding, really. And it's won a bunch. Mystery League's won a bunch of Emmys, and you know, so education is really more at the center of what we do than it ever has been in the past. And I think in many ways we're returning to a lot of the original PBS mission. Early educational television was very clearly focused on education, and we are as well. I want to point out just a descriptive I heard from PBS President Paula Kerger last week, which she said, you know, we do content of consequence. You know, we don't just say, oh, I like that, well, let's make that, you know, or that sounds like a fun event, let's do that. You know, we don't just throw things out there without thinking about how it ties to our mission and, you know, really what the needs are for our community. The other thing that I think is sometimes not at the front of people's minds is that we are accessible to every single Arkansan, regardless of their ability to pay. So it's media that is not only rich with educational content, it's free to all. And then just a comment on our live streaming, because it was something that we talked about, starting a couple of years ago, I think. And it's really turned into a central part of what we do. And it's a way of participation from our audience with us. They're really sort of on our live stream. They're coming to events. People who can't get there are watching, you know, Arkansas Citizens Access Network for one. But Arkansas Live is all these vivid cultural events that every person in Arkansas, no matter where you are, you can benefit from that artist that's speaking at Crystal Bridges, or a recognizable, you know, statesman or whoever it is. That's accessible to everybody through live stream, as is in sports, live sports. You know, we do, and it's kind of endless, the amount, the potential, I think, for live streaming at a high quality level. You know, not what we were used to in the beginning, where you can't hear or see anybody. You can see and hear better than you can at the event if you're watching it on Arkansas PBS. Thank you for the note about the awards. And I just want to say, moving forward into 2025, as my father would have said, it's going to be a doozy. Antiques Roadshow, January 11th, we will be having an event up at Crystal Bridges that screens pieces of the 3 episodes of Antiques Roadshow that were filmed in Arkansas at Crystal Bridges. And I mean, I'll speak for myself. I can't wait to see them. March is the premiere of the long-awaited documentary that we made about Statuary Hall and the statues. It's called Unveiled, Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash, and it's about those figures that loom large in Arkansas, and you know, who they were as people, the artists behind the works of art, the process, the legislature, the role that the legislature played in this, because it was the legislature's decision to consider replacing the statues, and then they actually chose Johnny Cash and Daisy Bates. So it's you know, it's in the final stages of edit, and I can say personally, Arkansas is gonna love this film, and I think the country will too, because I think it'll get an opportunity to be seen across the country. And finally, get ready, because the second season of our very own Antiques Roadshow is coming coming back, and Arkansas Treasures will film here in our Conway studio in April. What are the exact dates? April 12th and 13th. So get your collectibles, your finds in the attic. You go, honey, what is this? Then you can find out. Come to our studio and take part in that taping, and then you'll see the episodes aired later. One final note: I have utilized, our Attorney General multiple times, our lawyer in the office of the Attorney General, and ask, I call about with a lot of different questions, and I've called him about any manner of things recently, and one of them was some specifics of FOIA. So the recommendation was, and you all can decide, I'm just passing this on, that it might be a good idea to have a very brief FOIA training here during the commission meeting. It wouldn't, take up the whole meeting, and we would design the meeting so that the rest of it is short. But I think that might be a good idea, so think about that. That could be in the new year. We could do that, and that's all I have to say today. So.
Well, thank you for your report. Lindsay, you're up.
Oh, it's already me. Okay. Well, Anita's going to run my slides for me, so I'm going to do a little bit of giving the cue of when we're ready to go. So, Anita, you can, if you want, you can just skip past my title slide. That's good. All right, so thank you. So as you can see, we've got some good things to report. Anita, is it possible to move the frame maybe top right, or just get it off of the graphics if possible? It's covering one of them, but I'll go ahead and talk around the others. So the top left, you can see a 4% increase. This is based on month over month. Consistent with our commission meetings. Last commission meeting was a little different because we did a full year recap, but we're back to presenting what's happening more recently. So this is the change that's happened from the month of October to November. December data doesn't come in until almost early January. So this is the most current. We increased 4% in our streams. We had dipped from September to October. A lot of that is always kind of seasonal with new premieres that PBS puts out, but we're rebounding. We expect for that to come back really strong in January, as Veronica's going to talk about later with some of the national showcase. A really good lineup of some fan favorites that are coming back. So January is usually a really high peak for us. But as you can see, and you'll see across most of these charts, the yellow line is what's happened FY25 compared to FY24, which is the orange line, and FY23 is the blue line. You can see on almost all of them, we're starting at a much higher baseline. So even with valleys and peaks, we're still starting with a higher audience year over year. Our website, we're happy to see that it made the bounce back that it needed. At the last commission meeting, I had noted that we had experienced a dip on the website, and we were hoping that was going to come back. Part of that was due in July to the switch from Universal Analytics on Google to Google Analytics 4. They refer to it as GA4. That was a bit of an adjustment to make sure that we were getting the correct tracking. And then September, because we were seeing a decline from July to August to September, I'm like, there's got to be something that this is not normal. What is happening? And my web developer and I were able to uncover that a cookie consent module that we had applied to the website was actually blocking Google Analytics from tracking our visitors. So we got that corrected. We wanted the cookie, so little sidetrack, but cookie consent was supposed to go away in September, October, and then the decision was made that it was not. And so that is something that we needed to make sure we have that module on our website so that people do know that their traffic is being tracked. So it's important to have it there, but there was a setting in that was defaulted to blocking Google Analytics. So we've corrected that. As you can see, we've rebounded quite significantly from September up to November, but from October to November, it was a 50% increase. We will likely see an even larger spike over December. That peak that you see, the orange and the blue over December, that's football. And then you can see the even larger peak in March, that's basketball. So that's the effect and the impact that we see from broadcasting sports and the audience that comes in for sports. So we should see that once we have the next report. YouTube down in the lower left corner had an increase of 13% from October to November. Again, that's been a pretty steady increase month over month. I think we're now close to 42,000 subscribers on YouTube, so that's pretty impressive. We have keywords and people that watch a lot of content that, you know, kind of comes out of the woodworks on YouTube. We have a pretty loyal following there. Email has always been our most volatile. We're hoping that the second half of fiscal 25 and definitely in fiscal 26 that we're able to finally say, hey, this is not going to be as volatile as it has been. So I've explained in the past, a lot of these peaks and valleys are related to importing prospect lists and then those prospects not converting to subscribers. So we kind of batch a lot of people in, could be tens of thousands at a time, and if they don't convert and become subscribers, then that's going to create that volatility. So not a huge dip from October to November. That was a 0.4% decline. We are less than 30 days out from our completion of the migration to the new email platform that we've been mentioning in the last few meetings. Foundation is moved over, the network is mostly moved over, but that transition is complete in mid-January, and we're already noticing that the reporting in that platform, it seems to be better and more accurate, which was something that we wanted. Nita, if you'll go to the next slide. This is all of our social media platforms, so everything had a good increase except for X, which is not based on us. So the X platform, the day after the election, saw the largest mass exodus they've seen since Elon Musk took over the platform several years ago. So there's an ongoing mass exodus from the X platform, just given some of the connections there. A lot of people transferring over to a new platform called Blue Sky. So we are going to keep our eye on that, see if it's something that we need to consider moving to Blue Sky, or do we want to stay? Is our audience staying there? But the fact that we lost from about 7,700 followers to about 75, about 200 of our followers in the month of November left the X platform. So we'll keep our eye on that, but it was comforting to me to know that was not just that we posted something or that our content was the reason that people were leaving that platform. But so Facebook had a marginal 0.5% increase. Again, that's our most populated social media platform. We're at about 39,000 and change subscribers, followers there. So we don't anticipate that will really spike or peak for us. LinkedIn, we've been nurturing that since we had received the AXM profile data, so that had a 2% increase from October to November. So again, starting with a higher baseline than we've seen in the years past and continuing to nurture that. I do want to call out in the top left corner that Instagram had a 9% increase, so that is a significant spike from October to November, due in large part to three different things that happened. We had volleyball reels, which performed really well. We had Passage Reels, so we had a campaign going where we were doing a lot of lead up to the premiere of Passage and a lot of behind the scenes with Maddie and Adam. Really great series. If you haven't seen those and you're not following us on Instagram, I encourage you to go follow those. Really good behind the scenes videos that built a lot of momentum for Passage. And then Veronica's efforts in digital marketing, she had also strategically put some paid advertising behind some of that on Instagram, and that helped lead to that increase. Anita, next slide. And then the last slide, I always try to show you what's happening from the big picture of not only what are people watching, but how does that break down into genres, because that's really more important for this group and at a strategic level for us to just be paying attention to what genres do our audience care about. It's consistent month over month. They love dramas, so they love those national PBS and masterpiece dramas. We pretty consistently have in the science and nature genre and the history genre 4 to 5 shows. So we had 4 each in the month of November. We had one more show in culture down in the bottom center of the screen. And I'm really excited about that because, as Courtney mentioned, live streaming has been something that we kind of have dipped our toes in. It hasn't been something that I would say that we have necessarily gone out of our way to make sure everybody knows we're doing it, because we've kind of just been learning as we go of what's working, what's not in terms of events and how we stream them. That Arkansas Live in the month of November was Jane Fonda and Mary Steenburgen at Crystal Bridges, and it is the largest Arkansas Live viewership that we've had in a long time. That is also due in part to Crystal Bridges, we revised our agreement with them for these because obviously they have a much larger following on their website and their social media, that they're embedding our live streams in their website whenever we go up there and take the time to go up there and stream from their venue, which led to, it was, I believe 73% of the traffic actually came in because it was embedded on the Crystal Bridges website. So that was significant, and we're very excited to have that agreement in place. And I think that's really it. There's not another slide, but I'll stop and ask if anybody wants to go back.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could not only do the X, but also do Blue Sky? And do them just both together to see where it might be going?
Yeah, we're looking at all of that. Some of it's a capacity issue in terms of learning another and adding a fifth platform into the mix. Yeah.
Recorrection.
Right. That's what I don't think that we would necessarily drop X immediately. We'd want to see what happens because it may come right back.
Exactly.
People could settle out.
Exactly.
That was kind of an emotional move, I would say, on a lot of people's parts to just leave, and it may bounce right back.
I think I would encourage the board, or the commission rather, to look at the year over year. It's still greatly up, X.
Yeah.
It was a dip, it was an aberrant dip that I believe will correct itself. And the moment you start talking Blue Sky, then you need to start talking Truth Social. You need to start talking Telegram. There are other platforms. It's not just Blue Sky is the only alternative. So
Right.
I think X has been here a while. Look at our performance compared to Instagram, for example. X is still exceeding that, and it exceeds year over year as well. So let's just not be too hasty about that.
Yeah.
Great point. Great
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Any other questions on?
Anybody else?
All
Sajni, you're up.
I'm up next? Okay. So I'm doing the education update, of course, and in FY25, which starts July 1, we have launched several things. The Code of Ethics series 7 through 10, so there were 10 courses. Human trafficking, who are the victims? That's part of a 3-part course that we're doing that's in Arkansas Code. The Writing Revolution, which is going to teach kids writing strategies, or teach teachers about those writing strategies. And we actually went to Monroe, Louisiana to see how it was implemented in the school. That was just this week, I think, yes. So we're, and that was part of the introductory. We're doing a second course on that. So that was what we did this week. We updated our Arkansas history overview. And that is something when a teacher comes to Arkansas and they're going to teach history, they are required to take this, as well as undergraduates getting their undergraduate degree. So we offer that. What's great about that, and I think Dr. Clemmer had mentioned it, it is a free way to get that course requirement, and we offer that with ideas. So that we updated that, and we are actually making a new Arkansas history course, 2 hours, which is really in research right now. We also launched Let's Talk About Mental Health, which was for students, and so it was really for them to start that conversation, because it is such an important topic that we want to make sure we are covering now. In FY25, we've had 95,646 users of ideas. They have completed in this fiscal year 91,000 courses, and they have earned 126,000 credit hours. We also have 13 micro-credentials. 297 micro-credentials were earned by teachers in this fiscal year, this first half, and that was amongst 209 educators. So 209 at least earned one micro-credential. What we're working on now, a lot of our courses are very long. It seems like I talk about them a lot, but it's important, right? Because it's about keeping kids safe. So we spend a lot of time researching, making sure we have the content right, then go into production, then build the course, and so on. And So what we have there is we have high quality instructional materials, human trafficking, bullying prevention, 2-hour child maltreatment, and what I had mentioned, the writing revolution, writing strategies. And you know, for human trafficking and bullying, you may wonder, what is it that we teach? Every teacher is a mandated reporter, and that it actually has a description. They have to understand what that means because you are mandated to report anything. So we teach those things that are required by them, so they have it. Even if they've already learned it, that is definitely something to have a refresher course because, again, we're dealing with children. So those are those courses that are in the works. And then we also have Ready to Learn, which is for early education. We did 3 events in Jonesboro, 2 in Boone, and 1 at the Lehman Library. And that has been, of course, a project that we've done. We are in the 3rd year of that program. We help with Family Day. We put some educational activities together for that, and that was a lot of fun. And then we did 6 events for Read to Succeed. So that is, of course, to promote literacy in our state. We go in, the families come, we read a book, we give them a book, we give them, you know, a snack bag, all those things. We really tried to be mindful to go into those underserved or disadvantaged communities to offer that to them. And so that's always been very successful, and it will continue on in the next year. So, and then I'll just, indulging myself, but what Courtney mentioned about Mystery League, 5 Emmy awards, 9 nominations. But what I love the most about that, and it was so hard, is the first time we did it, was that we won in the categories, 2 program categories, long form instruction and long form entertainment. And that's the 2. You got both, you did both. And we're so happy about that. So that's it for mine.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good.
you.
Well, thank you. Any comments or questions? Yes?
Yes.
It's good to see the human trafficking because I know that is a big priority for Attorney General Tim Griffin. And so it's good that we are highlighting that and educating about that. And then I just had a question about how you pick the locations for Ready to Learn.
So I have a community education manager, and so Ready to Learn, you actually go into one area per what they call the cohort. So for 3 years, we had to determine one area, which we picked the Jonesboro area. And that's where
Maria's home.
yes,
Home
that's where
territory.
we've been for the last 3 years. I'm hoping that we'll get it again, Dr. Nance, and that we will pick another area. But it's, you know, we're very, when we say Jonesboro, it's larger than the, yes.
Right.
And we pick those places that need to. So yeah, that's part of the CPB Ready to Learn is that they want you to really get in the trenches. And that takes
And what is
time.
CPB?
Huh?
Say it for people who may not know the shorthand.
Oh, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They really want you to get in there, and I know that's very important even from my past work at UAMS. Coming somewhere and then leaving is really not planting a seed. And so it takes that time to do that, and so that's, I think, why they do that. So, yes.
I want to speak to, so you mentioned the Read to Succeed events, and I got to partner with one of those. Was that they're wonderful events, and talking about how you can grow those across the state. I know that your community employee has talked to the leads, the local leads, which is early childhood, which are all over the state, and talked about how we can make that a statewide initiative and make sure that we don't miss areas. So I look forward next year for that to be statewide, so more events, because we can partner. It's not just all the lift from the resources here, but how can we partner and leverage to get to all of our counties? So
Absolutely.
that's the work of this station, and that's just some of that magic that just keeps growing.
Magnify it
You
with
bet.
partnerships,
You bet.
yes.
Yeah, and that program perfectly falls into a train the trainer
Yeah.
program and we just kind of get the base, and we're looking at that, and we know at some point we need to package it, right? So it works so yeah, that's great.
Any other comments,
Oh, Gary
questions?
has a question.
Yes, sir. Oh,
Gary, you're muted.
You're muted.
I was testing you. Thank you.
You look good on camera, by the way. You're on
You mean here? Or
yeah, you're on the big screen for us. We're watching the Gary film right now.
Great. Two things. One, have we made any progress on making that robust library of professional development available to all Arkansas educators? And then two, have we made progress in finding or creating that science of reading instruction program for K-2?
So to make ideas available to more audiences, is that, Gary, what you were
Well,
asking?
Yes, with the Learns ethos, it's an all of the above when it comes to education in Arkansas. So we have many private school teachers, we have micro school teachers, we have homeschool teachers that could take great advantage of what's already been created, but they need access to that professional development. So I'd mentioned it in previous meetings, but I would encourage the team to discuss that with the Department of Education, figure out how to get that out to as many educators as possible, to touch as many Arkansans as possible.
Yes, so it's kind of a twofold question, but I can certainly bring it up. One is just financial. There's only so many users that can be on the LMS. It's expensive because we have an LMS based on a number of users. So that is kind of outside of but I can certainly bring it up. And I think there are...
Tell me what the forgive my
Learning management
acronym
system,
ignorance.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Learning Management
Yes.
System. Yes, that is the
And is that-
that is the portal that this online professional development is on. It is an online portal for teachers. They can take it anywhere that they are, but it is for licensed teachers. They do have an AILS number associated to be able to get in there, and that's really based on financial. It's
Well,
yeah.
I understand it, and you've been very kind to explain that before. I would encourage you to speak with the management at the Department of Education, and there may be money that they are willing to expand those the platforms. And if they have no interest in this, that probably should be said as well. But I would think that they would. It's ultimately it's their content. And so to expand it to touches all Arkansans, I think there's merit there. At least it should be explored. And I can also ask on the back end, I could ask the department if they would be interested in something like that as well, if that would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we will definitely bring up the discussion with them for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
The other question, and I apologize, I made a commitment to the Little Rock Chamber for their annual meeting today to help them in the production of that, so I have to move. But it also referenced the programming, the broadcast programming, not of reinforcing reading, which is wonderful, but of actually teaching the science of reading in a fun way. Courtney, you mentioned early on about the root programming of educational television was about that type of instruction. So if there's nothing out there that exists, I would encourage us to think about doing something like that and keep us at the forefront of literacy education in the country.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to explore that, and we will. So, we can have more discussions about that moving forward as we get more information on what's possible for us to do. But there are upsides and downsides to doing it independently, on our own, that it would not be as visible.
And I
through.
mean, it's expensive to make a show, right? So we'll have to look at funding as well, what funding we could find for it. And then there won't be that piece, Gary, where we've talked about it here. There is not a way to measure that it actually gained knowledge for children, because we have no way to monitor or assess that they did when it's on broadcast. There is not, even with Nielsen's, it doesn't measure what we measure to gain in knowledge for students. So I don't know if that piece would ever be there, or how we would do that. We wouldn't be able to survey those children and see.
Well,
So
no, I understand that from a broadcast perspective, but it's an all hands on deck when it comes to literacy. That is our greatest deficiency in education. And if we can see an overall lifting of the tide, it's going to be many, many different factors. I would just encourage us to go to our root of why do we exist? It's for Arkansas and education. And if it's both of those things, it should be something that we should think about. And I just don't want us to be encumbered by what funding potential. We could discover what that would be and say it's cost prohibitive. But I want us to at least explore the idea of how do we, on a broadcast level, and we brag about reaching so many Arkansans and people that lack means. Let's figure out how to educate in a positive way through decoding and the science of reading in a fun way for children to boost our literacy rates in Arkansas. We can have all the reading days and all the reinforcement, but those are for people who already know how to read. There are tens of thousands of students and adults in Arkansas, for that matter, that do not either read at level or read at all. And we're Arkansas Educational Television. We need to be at the forefront of that. And if it's cost prohibitive, we need to go to those that control the purse strings and say, this is what we would like to do and can do if we had the funding to do it. I just don't want us to be limited by the possibilities.
Thank you.
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions about anything?
I certainly agree. Also, this new administration that's coming in, there's a whole new department of efficiency that's going to be examining where the taxpayer money is best being spent. And when Gary mentioned us being at the forefront of literacy, man, that is what is going to be recognized as, yes, we're going to continue strong funding of those programs. But programs that have no outcomes, I don't know how that can be determined.
Yeah.
We've got to have deliverables and outcomes, and if our Department of Education is not working with us sufficiently to help us produce deliverables, which that's what they know how to do, then we need to have some conversations. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yes.
We need a motion to approve all the reports.
So moved.
Second? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Marge, you're up.
Thank you so much, Woody, and good morning, Commissioners. Good to see you all. So you have the written foundation report. I just want to briefly expand and update on a couple of things that are in process, current or upcoming. So we are in the midst of our end-of-year fundraising campaign. That campaign, as always, has lots of layers, and you all do service with a number of other nonprofits as well, I'm sure. So you understand that this is a particularly important time of year in the fundraising world. So the campaign does have a lot of layers, but it really kind of boils down to three components. One of them is our Giving Tuesday aspect. The second is December Pledge on-air fundraising. And the third is kind of the everything else bucket for end-of-year fundraising. So We're not going to know full outcomes until January, of course, because we're still in the midst of it. But here's what I can tell you so far. Giving Tuesday, we had a really good year for Giving Tuesday. So we had a challenge fund of $33,910 supplied by our Ambassador Circle members to encourage other giving to Arkansas PBS. And we were able to get that matched. It was a dollar for dollar match, and we actually raised $38,130 from 275 donors, which is excellent. Just by way of comparison, last year the amount raised from those donors was $29,379 from 205 donors. So that represents a 29.8% increase in revenue and a 34% increase in donors. So that was really highly encouraging, and especially because it's not atypical that in election years you see some volatility in giving, so we weren't entirely sure what to expect, so very, very happy about that. Second aspect of the end of year campaign, December pledge on air fundraising, that one, alas, a little behind last year. Not totally surprising, however, because we continue to see that people are just diversifying the ways that they are giving. Whereas most people would give through the on-air fundraising in the decades past, now they may be responding to social media or to online or going onto the website or actually picking up the telephone. So there's just a lot more channels that our donors use to make contributions. So it's not something that we get overly stressed about. We just try to keep an eye on it so that we can track where those trends are. The third component, the end of calendar year big bucket, is really that everything else. And it encompasses email, direct mail, social media, on-air spots. It even encompasses just good old-fashioned pick up the telephone and talk to people who have given to us in the past and encourage their continued support. It's really kind of the very boots on the ground effort from our team and in strong collaboration with our colleagues in marketing. The big results of this come in the last 2 weeks of the calendar year, which is why I can't tell you yet how it did. One encouraging sign, I would say, is that we are seeing an increase in the number of people who are giving through their IRAs, through their retirement funds, and through donor advised funds, which we call DAFs. So all of that lets us know that the messaging that we've been doing with things like a blog to encourage IRA giving, that it's getting some traction. People are paying attention to those. So I'll be able to tell you more in March on how that did, but just wanted to give you some insights about what the last 4 to 6 weeks of the calendar year look like for the foundation staff and what our focus is. Lastly, and I would be remiss in all of that if I didn't take a public opportunity to say a thank you to all of the donors who are watching, to everyone out there. We really could not do what we do without them, so we are tremendously grateful for that. And then lastly, a quick heads up about a new event that the foundation is undertaking that we are very excited about, that we got some grant support for. In February, we will be hosting 2 lunch and learns on the basics of estate planning. This is really a service to our communities. If education is so much at the heart of what we do, this is also a piece of education, educating the public about those basics of estate planning and what they can and need to do to be prepared. One of those will be in Hot Springs Village. One of those will be in Fayetteville. We'll have 2 to 3 more of those coming in the course of the fiscal year. We know that one of them will take place in Jonesboro. Not sure about the others, possibly a Little Rock, and just kind of looking at trying to get that broad geographic reach. Of course, As part of that, we also look forward to the idea of letting our audience and those participants know how they can use their estate planning to support the charitable causes that they care about. Arkansas PBS among them, but certainly not the only one. And again, this is something new for us, but we're very excited about this, and we'll let you know what kind of response we get on it. We're excited to be able to offer it as a complimentary lunch and learn, again, with that foundation funding support that we got, and that will hopefully get us a little more traction with getting people to come out to that. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
I was, in terms of the lunch and learns, that's what I was Googling over here. I wonder, we hosted Secretary Jim Hudson from Department of Commerce, and the context was getting out to talk to small entrepreneurs about the problems they run into, and he has staff available to do that. So there may be a way to partner on something like that as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and because especially out in rural locations, there's just not the resources, and so there may be a way to do that. And we have an entrepreneur. There's a entrepreneur small business initiative that has a grant from the state. That's it's run through the College of Business, but we also have a faculty member who's a lawyer who goes out. So I'm just thinking there may be a way to plug into that, because I know part of what is limiting on a lunch and learns are funding, but if there's already something going, there may be a way to partner. So I just wanted to raise that.
I would love to follow up with you on that and get some more details on that. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marge. Courtney, you had something for other business?
Oh, yes, we do have one matter of business that in the process of the audit, not an audit finding, but just a discussion about our officers on the commission. The auditors had a question, which is, is the treasurer a treasurer or a secretary treasurer? Because in some founding, in some legislative document language, it says that we have a secretary treasurer. So from henceforth, a declaration that we have a secretary treasurer, and we will change that language in every written communication in our handbook and all of that, just to absolutely cross every T and dot every I to follow the commission rules. So
through a lot of different commissions, so.
Pardon?
Wasn't that not only us, but a lot of
I
people?
think it was in our language.
Okay.
It says you will, within X amount, will elect or appoint the following officers. And it just refers to a secretary treasurer as opposed to, so.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions, comments on that?
Annette?
Annette?
I have a question, and I don't know if this is the right time. Will Jason be making a report? I don't have the agenda printed in front of me since I'm not there, and I apologize for the last minute change. But I like what you did. Is this a good time to ask us?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Jason, I wondered, I like what you did with telling us the percentage of revenue that comes from each source. But I think we're missing some reports that we've had in the past, and I wondered if you might be able to supply those later. The information about the expenses and the cost centers and things that have typically been in our board packages. Are those going to be available?
Well, may I ask for a little bit of clarification? So on the second page, we kind of.
Can you hear him?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay.
I know that you summarized everything. I just, we've had it because I'm an accountant, and maybe I'm the only one who really has this preference, but I really like to see it in a little more detail in the form of financial statements.
Okay, so for example, on page 2, when we've got payroll
You
related.
don't have them printed, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what's on page 2.
Okay, if I may, would it be all right if I reach out to you at a later time and we can discuss
Okay,
what
sure.
level of detail? And then, of course, I open it up to anybody here. If there's certain information that y'all find meaningful, I'm happy to help kind of expand out this report. So please, I believe everybody has my email address, or
I think,
or we can.
you know, Jason, you can look at the prior
Yeah.
commission packets and things to see, you know, what was being provided by.
And I know sometimes they came in the package in advance, and sometimes we received them at the meeting. And I don't know why, you know, I don't know why it happened at different times. So it might not be in the packages that you've looked at that, you know, were provided in advance. But I know that we've typically had more of, you know, more of an income statement in particular, that I kind of miss seeing. So
Okay.
since I wasn't able to print these, you know, when they came yesterday or the day before, I can't point at the specifics. But anyway, I will, if we could get together, I'll email you about what I'm talking about, and we can see if, you know, if we might be able to go ahead and put those back in the future.
Certainly happy to help. And yeah, I did, when I first arrived here, I did look back at some of the historic reporting, and there's been a considerable amount of turnover in this role, and so there was a wide array of formats, and so I'm more than happy to provide the information that y'all need to help facilitate the decision making. And so certainly I look forward to speaking with you, and we will work towards a format that works for everybody.
And I'll look back at, you know, because I've kept those board packages for a long time, and I'll go back and see if I can pull out exactly the ones that mean something to me, and,
Okay.
and we can see if, you know, if you feel like they'll be valuable to everybody else.
Okay, wonderful. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Annette, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Jason.
That's a very good point. It really is.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anything else for general business? Did you know?
Anyone?
Yeah. I guess, Sajni, you're up.
Okay, so this is the video showcase. I'll do the local production and pass it to Veronica for the national productions. I have 4 videos. 2 are from sports, from football. The first one is the Siloam Springs created a brand new cheer team, Special Olympics United Unified Cheer Team. And so we're going to look at that short about that team.
Failure requires you to how to raise your voice and be as loud as you want.
The first year is always the most important year. You know, it's good. You got to get everybody's feet wet.
Okay, let's go to our jumps for a minute. Okay, go to jump.
I always want to be on Dancing with the Stars, so
I really want to get some unified teams going in our community because cheer has always been kind of a big thing in Siloam Springs.
Well, a unified team is Special Olympic partners and peer partners, and they work together to build the routine and compete.
Being a base for a cheer for the shoulder sit, yeah, it's like I'm the base and like someone climbing on my rooftop ladder and someone's on my roof. It's really cool though.
So there's dance, there's tumbling, there's the cheering aspect, there's the stunting. I feel like our cheerleaders sometimes work the hardest because there are so many components to it and they all have to be synchronized and they all have to work together and put out a flawless routine.
do you like the practices? You like how challenging they can be? You think it could be the lifting or the tumbling? What do you think? Both. Tell them. Both.
And from the first practice to state, every single one of them just took ownership of it, and it was like how sports bring people together. That's exactly what cheer has done in our school.
know, the kids were so nervous because they had never competed before like that. I mean, I knew that they were good and I knew that they had a good routine, but I just didn't know what the scoring would be like.
But there wasn't anything that we were expecting, getting out in front of everyone and doing our routine and what we practiced.
We didn't really know what to expect going in, and they rocked it.
We won the state competition in Benton, Arkansas, and took home the gold.
They had the skills, but they also had the drive to be successful, and they all worked together as a team.
And it was like our first year, and so like we proved to a bunch of people that you can do something in a short amount of time.
This team, this high school team, had the overall highest score out of the entire competition, and I think that's what shocked us all the most.
And watching them win together was incredible. And now it's like, okay, we got to win again. Like we can't stop now. Now we got to defend it.
1, 2, 3, 4, and here we go!
It's hard to win if you don't practice, and chance of winning are low. That's why we practice. Otherwise, you will be at the competition underprepared.
What I feel like makes practice the most important is that's where the relationships are built, and that's where the trust is built.
It's always important to hang out with the peers that I'm working with, and like Hallie, she's always one of my friends I always hang out with. She's one of my friends, and I always love her.
Oh, I love you too.
The relationships that we made outweigh any medal that they'll ever win. I mean, don't get me wrong, those gold medals are precious, but I think just the idea of inclusion in the team brought all these kids together from different backgrounds, from different grades. They are so welcoming, they are so loving, and it's just incredible to watch how they have been impacted by this experience.
And to see those friendships and to see that joy on their face, that's what makes it worth it.
Great job, great job.
Thank you. So Siloam Springs will be hosting their own Special Olympics cheer competition on February 27th. So we're excited for all the teams that will compete, and especially them. The next one, maybe Dr. Nance, this is for you, but I may ask all of you, do you know who the father of the Razorbacks is? Do you know his name?
It was in the report. Can I cheat?
No. So we did that. We thought
There he is, right there.
everybody in Arkansas wants to know that, right? About the Razorbacks. So we did a segment, and we're going to show you who that was.
The University of Arkansas hasn't always been the Razorbacks. Hugo Bezdek, his association with what would change our mascot.
That one significant moment will always be part of the history of the university. Hugo Bezdek, he immigrated from Bohemia. He and his parents moved to Pennsylvania and then later to Chicago, where he literally fell in love with American sports.
Had been mentored by his coach Amos Alonzo Stagg at the University of Chicago.
Looking for something to do, and American sports really filled that void in his life.
Hugo Bezdek was selected really as the first paid coach, full-time coach here at the University of Arkansas. And
he arrived in 1908, so he became the coach, which means he coached whatever they were playing. You know, they were the Cardinals, and the Cardinals, not the birds, but the color. In those days, it was football in the fall and baseball in the spring. He was equally prepared to coach both, had successful careers in both sports. It's very likely that his baseball players were more fundamentally sound than his football players because, you know, baseball was kind of the town sport in those days. He did produce great baseball teams.
There was a lot of success heralded on the football field. Obviously, his teams were light, quick, and furious. They were swarming. It was a very disciplined team, and their style of play was very successful with an undefeated season in 1909 and really helped define a style of football that wasn't seen predominantly around the country at that time.
I think his wins and losses and his accomplishments as a coach are all secondary to the fact that he was in the right place at the right time to form a new image for the state.
That in 1909, when the University of Arkansas traveled to Memphis via train to play the mythical Championship of the South. And Coach Bezdek led Arkansas to a shutout victory, and they returned to the train station and the train depot on Dixon Street.
So when they arrived, everyone knew what the score was, and old Hugo stepped down off the train and
Spoke to the crowd. He proclaimed that his team played like a wild band of Razorbacks.
everybody thought, well, that's better than being a Cardinal.
And then in 1910, the University of Arkansas student body officially voted to change the name from Cardinals to Razorbacks.
It's not true that Bezdek invented the name. They'd been called the Razorbacks prior to that.
But it certainly wasn't embraced.
And so the name was more derogatory. Arkansans were looked upon by their opponents as a bunch of rural, hillbilly, non-competitive guys.
But I think what people quickly realized in this state is the Razorback represented the attributes of Arkansans. Is fierce, is tireless, and is very passionate. I think they really identify with the attributes of a Razorback, of the Hogs, and having to work harder and having that success. So I think when you look at an animal and you look at a mascot that represents the spirit of Arkansas, I think the Razorback is a perfect fit.
He was the first person to give that name significance. I think that's a very important part of his legacy, setting us up for this competitive nature that goes far beyond what we might expect.
And not just in athletics, that stems across the academic institution, campus community. Hugo Bezdek's perhaps biggest contribution to the University of Arkansas was the adoption of the Razorbacks and a whole sense of pride for this state and for this university.
Yay.
Very good, very good.
So, yes, we learned a lot, and I want to thank the
job.
U of A. They gave us permission for a lot of that footage, so we're very thankful for them. And I'll mention Eric White had produced Unified, and one of our newer producers, Shataro Kanari, did the Razorback story, produced that.
The narrator. Who was that?
The one that did the sound bites?
Yes.
Now I'm going to have a hard time.
He looks familiar. It's the only reason
Yeah, I'll find out. I don't know it off the top of my head, but yes. So those were our two. Those both aired for the first time during football, which was just last week and will be also this weekend. So our next one is, as Lindsay had mentioned, we do Arkansas Live, which is live streaming events for people who aren't able to go there. You know, we have busy lives, and we want to be able to give the public a seat at these important events. So this one was maybe a week ago or so. We had an author named Jonathan Haidt, and he has written a book called The Anxious Generation. It focuses on the effects of social media and cell phones, those effects that they could perhaps have on children. Governor Sarah Sanders was there as well as one of the panelists. And so we just wanted to kind of give you a couple of clips from that, which will lead into our very last video as well. So we can show that.
So we have a mental health catastrophe, and that's really what the book it begins with. And just very briefly, why did this happen? And once you see that it happened the same way, the same time in Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Scandinavia, that rules out anything going on in America. Maybe it's because between 2010 and 2015, childhood around the Western world changed radically as the millennials, those of you born between 1980 and 1995, you probably had a flip phone when you were going through puberty. You used that phone to actually call people because you could use that thing as a phone. But if you were born after 1995, you went through puberty with a smartphone, with a front-facing camera, high-speed internet connection, video, and you had Instagram. And this is especially devastating for girls. Middle school is so hard for girls anyway, for all of us, but especially for girls. Let's take all the worst parts of being a girl in middle school and multiply them by 10. And so my argument is that we experienced what I call the great rewiring of childhood between 2010 and 2015. It was very sudden and very recent. And that, I believe, and that's what the book is about, that is why mental health collapsed, especially for girls. And we'll come to the boys because their story's a bit different. But that's, I think, why it collapsed around the world at the same time.
And we said, let's create a grant program that schools can voluntarily opt into, and the state will cover the cost of either the pouches or the lockers or whatever they decide is the best way for their school to go phone free, but we'll pay for it to happen. We think that we'll get a handful of responses. We had to immediately, within the first couple days, add money to the program because the response was so overwhelming. Within 6 weeks of launching that program, 75% of school districts in the state of Arkansas asked to participate. That shows what a desperation and what a hunger and what a need there was for us to do something different.
Hey, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, and that's from Arkansas Live. I'll give a shout out to
Broadcast quality.
Yes, the two that are streaming here streamed that. Brian Fraser and Anita. I can't see you, but there you are.
Yay.
So they go to Crystal Bridges
what a
quite a
stream
bit.
team.
They are.
We call them the stream team.
And they're going to. We're streaming the Board of Education on January 9th, and they're going to Batesville next week to site survey that so we can shoot that. So we're always grateful for their work. This is kind of, this last clip is not necessarily a story or anything, but mental health, of course, we can see is a very important thing. And I thought I'd give you a little lens into like what ideas would do when we're covering a PD for mental health. So this is just a clip. There is a 3-tier part of mental health is a huge thing, but one of the pieces is having this 3-tiered approach. Tier 1 is for all kids. They all need access to what they need for mental health. Tier 2 is those kids who need just a little bit more, and Tier 3 is that extensive help. So we have all three, and so we have someone from ADE just discussing what Tier 2 could look like in your school. So we can look at that.
So when it comes to mental health, Tier 3 is school-based mental health, and we've got programs like that happening in schools all the time. But we tend not to have a lot going on in Tier 2. And I think school teachers, school districts, and buildings can begin to take a look at what can we do there in the middle for kids who maybe don't need school-based mental health or they have obstacles to receiving it. And we've got to do something to support those students. A couple of programs that I think are useful and worthwhile are Check-in, Check-out, or Check-in Connect. Check-in Connect tends to be a little bit more for the secondary population, Check-in, Check-out for the elementary population. And those are really times where adults, and it doesn't have to be a teacher, it could be a para, my heavens, I've seen it be the janitor and the secretary, can check in and check out with students and become a buffering adult for them. An adult that buffers the effects of maybe what's happening in their life. I think of it like, have you ever seen Dude Perfect?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So they had this thing where they walked on Legos for like the longest amount of time.
Right.
That sounds terrible to me. Walking on Legos is the worst thing. And so we do have a lot of young people who walk on Legos in their everyday life because of their challenges and their struggles, maybe their out of their childhood experiences. A buffering adult is basically the person who comes alongside you and says, here's some sneakers for today. Here's some sneakers. And here's the thing. Yeah, you might have to leave the sneakers with me because I am the sneakers, and you might have to go back to walking on the Legos this evening. But you know when you come back the next day,
you have that buffer.
Sneakers, yeah. So buffering adults, for those kids that maybe the universal stuff isn't quite meeting their needs and they don't quite need the top of the pyramid, we can do things like create opportunities for adults to buffer.
Excellent, excellent.
Thanks. So that wraps up our local production. We'll have, like Courtney mentioned, Unveiled, the Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash story in March, and baseball. Yeah, no, basketball. Basketball, quiz bowl, all those things, and of course anything new.
Yes, and we'll have a little surprise announcement.
Yes.
On,
we're waiting.
One thing, and it's embargoed to do with Mystery League, so that will come soon. Sorry to leave you hanging.
Teaser. That's the teaser.
Sorry to leave you all hanging out there.
Yeah.
But yes, and then potentially some other very big news in the kids space too. So.
Any comments on what you saw?
Oh, amazing.
Veronica, you're up.
We don't have a lot of opportunities for the national and local to be the same thing, but the first show I'm going to talk about is just that. So we had the pleasure in May, and I know we talked about it when we did it, but to attend the filming event for Antiques Roadshow. And they told us at the time that the order would be determined by the quality of what they received at each of those events. Well, we were thrilled to report that we're kicking off the 29th season. So we are the season openers, and we're
we
super
all know
excited.
They put the best foot forward.
That's
There,
So of course, from an engagement event, that was tricky to pull together a January 11th event. But we are super thrilled to be episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 29 of Antiques Roadshow. And we are going to just show you a little sneak peek of hour 1, the promo from that.
The magic of discovering new treasures is everywhere in the season premiere of Antiques Roadshow.
Really? Oh my goodness.
I think with these, you've really kind of hit it out of the park.
This one is not out of fashion. It's so well done and so over the top. Fancy French, just beautiful.
I guess I have my grandma's eye for things.
Don't miss the season premiere of Antiques Roadshow from Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art.
Well, I just got chills. I don't know about you all.
Wow.
It's
Arkansas tourism website or something linked to it. Arkansas
Yeah.
Bureau of Tourism. Yeah.
That's
we should reach
amazing,
out.
yeah.
To them and heritage and
Yes.
you know. mhm.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. We've gotten a chance to look at some of the photos, and all 3 hours of promos are out. They're all super good. We've already put them into rotation. I made sure that we got a jump on all of our January programming. Promos are delivered already. So before people go on vacation, that is going to be in heavy rotation when it premieres. Episode 1 premieres on January 6th. Episode 2 is January 13th, and episode 3 is January 20th. So tune in, it's going to be super fun. We're very excited to see just the wonderful representation from the quirky, there's one of the items that is being promoted is an ice cream cone that was in one of the dairy bars, and they had a special encounter with Elvis, and that's all I will say. But tune in, super.
Yeah, I cannot wait for it. I mean, the irony is, as long as I've been in the job, I've been saying to people on that Antiques Roadshow staff, we did the Little Rock one before I got in the job, and I said, you're missing Northwest Arkansas, Crystal Bridges, and so they decide to do it, and I have this just commitment that I couldn't get out of. I just could not respectably not do what I had committed to do. So I missed the whole day up there because they have their roadshow timed out. They can't just go, oh, Courtney can't make it on that day, let's switch it. So I missed it. Can't wait to see it.
Well, we are thrilled. We are thrilled to get that top billing. Was unexpected, but we're super excited for it, and we hope everyone tunes in to see it. So that is number 1, of course. Number 2, obviously the masterpiece dramas are at the top of what we do every year, but I went ahead and chose a sizzle for our second because there are so many great masterpiece dramas coming this winter and spring. 2 that will premiere on January 12th. We're going to see here All Creatures Great and Small and Miss Scarlet, minus her Duke, but there is a new rival in town, so we'll see a little bit of that in the sneak peek, and we'll get to see 2 more that are premiering a little later in the spring.
That would be 2297.
A little showmanship could be in order.
Will you look at that?
I think it's marvelous.
My name's Eliza Scarlett.
Are we ready?
Well, I'll see what I can do.
Jane Austen.
my sister. Her adventures will be magnificent.
I want him to get the chance to change the map of the world.
I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy all of those. So, like I said, January 12th is All Creatures Great and Small and Miss Scarlet, both of their season 5 premieres. And then Miss Austen was moved back a little bit. It was originally going to premiere in March, but it's moved back to May 4th. And then Wolf Hall, The Mirror and the Light, March 23rd. So all those are coming. So just wanted to give you a great sneak peek of that. There's a whole bunch more, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Moving on, so of course we know Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. is at the core of some of our most fantastic programming. We're not going to watch it because I showed it last year, but Finding Your Roots, I don't know how he does it, but somehow, like, we step it up every single year. Last year we had a viewer give their story, and that was amazing. I think they chose two viewers because there were so many compelling stories. This time we have so many great celebrities that are coming on. There's 10 episodes of that starting on January, I believe, I have that written down, January 7th, thank you. And then, but that's not what we're gonna watch, so I just wanna let you guys know that that's coming. But Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. is also hosting a series called Great Migrations, and that tells the story of African American migration in the 20th and 21st centuries. So we'll just see a little sneak peek of that as our final national clip.
Migration is freedom to Black America.
African American migration was one of the most significant demographic transformations in the history of the United States.
If there's a Black American dream, it's to have the freedom to dream.
That decision to migrate, if that's not transformative, I don't know what is.
And that is a 4-episode series that premieres on January 28th, and it will go through February and Black History Month. So anyway, that is what I have for National. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Upcoming events.
Upcoming events. I'm just going to hit a few here, reminding you of the dates of the Antiques Roadshow airings. January 6th, 13th, and 20th at 7 p.m. And then on the 11th is when the event is up at Crystal Bridges, where you can go for free and attend this event and see pieces of each segment, and people, some people from Antiques Roadshow who are coming to town to do that, as well as one of the curators from Crystal Bridges. So that's going to be exciting. Yes, I'll be going. I'll be going up. Yeah, good. You're moderating. Great. That's fantastic. On the 20th, Arkansas Live will give you a front seat at the Martin Luther King Prayer Breakfast. In February, I just want to highlight one show that I think is really. I was just sent a note to Veronica that we should look at showing maybe a little bit of Carl the Collector next time. But it's just an amazing show where the lead character is a boy. Well, he's not a boy. He's a raccoon, a raccoon who is autistic, and the show has received amazing comments from educators and the medical field, everybody. It's just a really, really special show. So that, we are having a local event here on the 22nd of February from 10 to 11:30. I don't know exactly where that is, but it'll be on our website, right? Yeah, we'll be tweeting about it. And then finally, again, on the 7 p.m. on the 20th of March is the premiere of Unveiled, Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash. And preceding that, we will live stream the Arkansas Governor's Arts Awards on Arkansas Live, and basketball, high school basketball, March 13th through the 15th. And again, you know, other opportunities to really honor our student athletes who managed to do well, you know, in school and play a major sport. So those are the highlights.
Well, thank you very much. Any comments from the commissioners?
I just want to say again, as somebody who is a lifelong Arkansan, an educator, a lover of story, and sports too, always appreciate what you do. I think about Arkansas Ideas as a teacher. I've been a consumer of that. As you talk about those courses, I've taken those courses on human trafficking. I've taken those courses on bullying. I know their quality and their impact. The Science of Reading, when that initially got launched in our state, I took those courses through Ideas, so I know the high quality and the value. So just thank you for that. I'm always impressed and amazed. And then Mystery League, even though it's not a new production, just as I was listening to this meeting, I was thinking about how much of a consumer I have been and continue to be of what Arkansas PBS produces, and how I work with children who are also a consumer of what you produce, including those shows in the sports. My home team won volleyball championship, so everybody was so excited. So just thank you, and I'm just so impressed by the work you do, and honored to just get a close-up seat to it.
Thank you, Ann.
Yes, and I'll make a comment about the live stream cheers. That just made my heart race. That was such an important live stream for Arkansas. My husband's mother and father were teachers in St. Louis, and his dad started the first special ed PE department for all of the special ed schools in St. Louis County. So that was swimming and gymnastics and cheerleading. So I'm telling you, I am very close to that. I applaud you for that. We cannot lose our funding in any way, shape, or form. We offer so many good programs. But just as Commissioner Newsom said, our focus is literacy. If our kids can read by the 3rd grade, we'll change this state around. We will. We're not there yet. We play a role. 94,000 teachers. Well, I don't know if it's that many teachers, but in our professional development.
Yeah, and administrators.
That is so important that we can show outcomes to our legislature, because that's when they get behind us. We do understand that, right? And so I'm just impressed. My 3rd meeting, and you know, I'm behind us, but I first and foremost am behind our kids and reading. So let every department, you know, let's focus first on that. And thank you for the professionalism that we have in this department. It is impressive.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to call something to your attention that the Attorney General is working on, and that's the Quill Project. I don't know if you are aware of that. So it turns out that we have amazing documents in archives here that nobody knew about. And so there is a major project to digitize those, and I think it might be fascinating to either cover the process or there's like original treaties between indigenous people and So I just wanted to
Great
flag
idea.
that for you that,
Great idea.
yeah, that might be something to put on the
That's a
radar.
great idea.
In light of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. coming up and the 60th anniversary of PBS. That's the first
Yeah,
thing.
it's great.
The
Get that.
second thing is, as we anticipate our anniversary, I wonder if we might think about taking the commission on the road and then having public-facing events. Just, again, we're celebrating the 60th anniversary. Here are your commissioners. Tell us how you feel about people. What do you want to see? That kind of thing.
I
To
think that would
be
be great
so.
for that
'Cause it's been a while
60th year.
since we did
Yeah,
that.
so that's my, and then the next thing is I wonder, I saw in the notes, keep good going. And I wondered if it might not be good to do for the foundation reels about the fact that we are leading off the season of Antique Roadshow, right? Like somehow leveraging those Antique Roadshow into reels to support the foundation, keep the good going. As you've already got the footage, it's very exciting. So and then the last thing is, I'm kind of wordy today, but the last thing is thank you for the warmth drive. I
the
just,
sweat and
anytime
Mr.
we do
Mr.
public
Rogers,
service,
the spirit
I
of Mr.
love it, and
Rogers.
I thank you, and I know the children who benefited, thank you as well.
I love
So,
that sweater drive.
That's great. Thank you so much. Any other comments? Our next meeting is March the 6th, and we look forward to seeing everyone there. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
everybody
you,
have
Woody.
a great holiday
yes,
Thank you,
season.
Woody,
Merry
for
Christmas.
being our
Good
chair
job, Woody.
You're welcome.
today.
Yeah.
Hold that.